Well, Razorback fans, Sam Pittman had some interesting things to say yesterday in his press conference, but one of the biggest things was about NIL. Now, there's not any more of it, but they have a plan in place. I don't know. Let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon at Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday as it is Thanksgiving week. And just to give you guys a little bit of an update on everything, obviously there's not going to be a Locked On Razorbacks on Thanksgiving, but we'll try to do it pretty much every other day this week, and we'll keep you updated on that. But still, holiday weekends are always a certain interesting way, and our holiday weeks, which is what this is going to be. But either way, we got plenty to talk about today. We'll talk about Arkansas and Missouri as far as a, quote, rivalry goes, as well as, again, to the Razorback basketball team that literally was like winning by like Hogs by 90 yesterday. It certainly seemed like. But I wanted to start with something that Sam Pittman had to say in his press conference about NIL. Now, you're probably sick of hearing about this in some ways, and maybe some of you are going to disagree or not like what is going to be said, whatever, take it for what it is. But there was something to be said about the offseason and how you have a lot of players that are entering into the portal. You're going to have a lot of players that are coming out into the portal but coming to your school. Their high school recruiting. It's very crazy. But Sam Pittman had this to say as far as the balance act that they have to find for that. And also, is the NIL good? Is the NIL good right now for football where it stands? Here's what Sam Pittman had to say.
I don't, but I think we can combine it. In other words, I think we can go a year contract over where we're at NIL with where we're going to be revenue sharing, combine it for a year's time, possibly pay the kids like the NFL does, something percentile, OTAs, weightlifting bonus, all that. Not that we would do it. I'm saying like the NFL does it, and then pay them more during the season. The totality of the money would be the same. And so we would do that, to be honest with you, Trey, whether revenue sharing was in January or whether it was in July, simply because the portal opens in April, and I don't think we want to pay equal increments all the way up to April, and then somebody goes in the portal. I think you want to entice them to come back with more money during the season.
Now, some people may say from what they heard right there from Sam Pittman that, this is awful, or, this, he's not saying that, the NIL is in a good spot or anything like that. Here's the deal. For those of you who may not know, the revenue sharing model that's going to be happening is basically where there's going to be a $20 million deficit that's going to be taken by every major university in order to prepare themselves for the revenue sharing that is going to take place and going to happen this summer. And part of that, it's going to be about sharing the money with student athletes. Just, again, it's a crazy time, but it all goes back to the uncertainty of what Arkansas and Sam Pittman and everybody in college sports, but particularly college football, is having to deal with right now. The uncertainty, the craziness of it, and also the ability to try to put it together and to try to make it to where you're getting things done and being the best program you can have. But the only thing about this is that with what Sam Pittman was saying, that's what all schools are going to go through. Like, all schools are going to have that same issue, or at least going to have the same type of deal where they're going to need different avenues to get revenue in here and to be able to add it to the revenue sharing deal. I still believe that's why there's not a whole lot of buyouts that are happening right now in major college football. I think you're going to see a lot of continued changes along the college football landscape of how teams are going to be adjusting for this. But my understanding is this. Arkansas does have NIL and football that is at least setting them up where there's confidence within those walls. Say what you want about it, but there's confidence within those walls that their NIL is going to be vastly improved this offseason compared to what it was in previous off seasons. There is a way of, having it just over Arkansas Edge, or if you're having some big major company or one particular booster be able to put in on it. Like, there's just a lot of ways that NIL can come from. But the belief is inside of those walls that the program is going to have more NIL this offseason to work with than they have in any previous season. It's just what I've heard. And if that's the case, we will never know just how good the NIL is number-wise. You could be like, well, I've heard it's been 2 million. I've heard it's been 6 million. I've heard it's been 10 million. Like, you can hear these numbers that get thrown around a lot. But here's where I come into play as far as knowing exactly how good you have it with NIL. There are certain players on this Razorback football team that are not going to be on the team next year because they're out of eligibility or they're moving on to the pros. A guy like Landon Jackson, not playing next year. Jaquinton Jackson, not playing. Andrew Armstrong, not playing. Those are examples of players that are just going to be moving on. And then you start to think about, if you're a Razorback fan or if you're Sam Pittman and the coach, you got to think about which players do you want to return next year? Like, what's going to be the priority? Because there's going to be some of these guys where their number's going to go up. Is Luke Haas going to be one of those players that tries to get enticed from other schools with a higher NIL? Is that something he's interested in? Is that something he wants to take? Is it going to be somebody like a Jalen Braxton who hasn't played at all this season, and he doesn't look like he's going to play the rest of the season? Is he already into the portal, like basically saying, hey, I'm out of here? Or is he somebody you want to try to have back? Braylon Russell, another thing where he tweeted out the other day and deleted the tweet, but saying that I'm not injured. And so that was really strange and not something you want to see. But point is, when you're dealing with NIL in the offseason and you hear things and you hear how good it is, that's all well and good, but it's a matter of what needs to be done in order to keep your best players on the roster. If you continue to have really bad turnover, where each and every year you're losing out on your better players, your best players, that's the best indication of just how poor your NIL is. If you can't simply keep players on the roster, then you're not doing a very good job of roster building. It's as simple as that. So how does Arkansas do in this offseason? Well, it's going to be about retaining those players, and it's also going to be about who you get out of the portal. From my understanding, they are really, really going to hammer out offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and defensive backs. Those are the three that they are going to be hitting hot and heavy because they feel pretty confident in the other position groups, at least next year and beyond, to be able to compete at the high level and compete in the SEC. I think that's fine. I think that makes sense, and I think it's smart, and I think that they'll do it the way that they need to do it. But that's just what's the reality right now, folks. Those of you may hate, say, Sam Pittman, you want him gone, you don't want him to be the coach anymore. Okay, that's fine. You can feel however you want. But he is going to be the coach. So if you heard that response that he had to that question about NIL, and you're like, oh, that's just a guy who sucks and we don't want him around anymore and he's terrible and he's making NIL an excuse. I mean, if you want to see it that way, that's fine too. But to me, I believe Arkansas, if what I'm understanding, what I'm hearing is correct, I believe Arkansas could have one of their best off seasons when it comes to keeping the talent, but also adding the talent. And if that happens, and if that's the case, then maybe, just maybe, there's something that they can do to make this work. Maybe, just maybe, next season won't be as meh as it feels like right now. And I say that with a big maybe. But I want to see it proven. And I told that to the people who've been telling me this. I'm like, that's great. That's great that the NIL's improved and that he's going to have all this. But until I see it, until I see the results of it, I'm not going to believe it. So take that for what it's worth, folks. Take it for what it's worth. Let's talk a little bit about Missouri. Sam Pittman had some interesting comments about the NIL already, but let's talk about the Battle Line rivalry. Sponsored, whatever. I don't care. Let's just get into it. We'll do that in here in a second on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, so stay with us. All right, all you Razorback fans, I know a lot of you are always going to sporting events. Sometimes it's Razorback games. Sometimes it's professional team games. Sometimes it's going to basketball games for the Hogs. Sometimes it's about going to anything, concerts, drama, theater shows, anything. You need a ticket. Well, if you're going to get tickets, get it with the Game Time app, because right now it is the place to buy your tickets on any level, in any way, because of the great deals that they are offering, because they're one of the partners of us here at Locked On Razorbacks podcast. It makes it easier to save a lot more money on all the different types of events that you want to go see. They have the all-in pricing feature that you can toggle and turn on to where you get the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You can also see the panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy. And it's also the lowest price guarantee. And if you find some better somewhere else, then they'll give credit you 110% of the difference. It's that easy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Arkansas and Missouri is happening this Saturday, in which we know it's not a game that Arkansas has won many times. And in fact, very few times, it feels like, sadly. But it's one that Arkansas feels confident that they can go in there and win this game. They've never won in Columbia. They've only played a few times up there. But either way, it's been made into a rivalry, or a quote rivalry, a trophy game, however it is. I want to play a couple clips of what Sam Pittman had to say. First off, dealing with this and the teams that he considers rivals and everything that's on the list. Take a listen.
I probably shouldn't have said that, because everybody who's ever been to our house on Thanksgiving think I don't want them there. That's not true.
Eli, he kind of stirs this thing up. He's made a big deal out of this rivalry. What do you think of him and y'all's relationship and how he's done this rivalry?
Well, I have respect for. He stirred up a lot of stuff, not just with Arkansas. So I have a lot of respect for him. He's a hell of a coach now, and you don't want him to have the ball on the last drive. And I mean, you don't, because he's outstanding and has won a lot of games that way. It's a rivalry. He told me he's going to try to stir it up too when we first came here. I respect the guy. He's obviously done a really nice job there. So, we're rivals, and they've got the trophy, and they've had it for last 2 years. We'd like to get it back.
Okay, so that was Sam Pittman. That was actually him talking about Eli Drinkwitz, but yeah, it's kind of funny because he talks about him mixing it up a lot with different teams and different coaches and everything, which he does, and it's really annoying. This past weekend, I won't play the clip because I'll get demonetized for it, but I encourage you all to go watch it, because at the end of the game, they were beating Mississippi State by 19 points. And you could see him on the sideline screaming. You can read his lips of what he was saying to the Mississippi State team, and basically saying, hey, if you don't shut your mouths, I'll score again, blah, blah, blah. Like, there is not a more unlikable person in all of SEC coaching than Eli Drinkwitz. I think you all know how I feel about him. And it's hilarious because he's become the heel, and he's doing it on purpose. Like, that's his shtick. That's his act, is he just tries to do it for that. And again, it works out for him. That's great. He's had honestly, they should be pretty upset up there in Missouri with the easy schedule that they have this year. They should be almost undefeated, but they're not, because they're very average. But still, it's just funny to hear Sam Pittman talk about Eli and mixing it up. And he even said it right there. He's like, yeah, I do it on purpose. He's told me he was going to mix it up as soon as I met him and everything. So again, it goes back to, is this an organic thing? Is this an organic rivalry? But it seems like it's just drink being drink. And, I know for a fact, though, that Sam Pittman really, really wants to beat Eli Drinkwitz and really wants to beat Missouri for many reasons, but one of them being to just absolutely destroy Missouri and kind of put them in their place a little bit. Because here's another thing, too, folks. If Arkansas loses this game to Missouri, that's going to be 3 straight years where there are 3 trophy games. They went home empty-handed. In 2021, they won all 3 games of the trophy games. But past 2.5 seasons, they've not gotten one back in Fayetteville, and it's been a pretty empty trophy case. So they're wanting to make sure that they get that back, and it's going to be important for them. But either way, Drinkwitz is the worst. And I still laugh that he called me out by name at SEC Media Days, and it just shows you that, dude, if you're calling me out by name of all people, then you're living rent-free or whatever the kids say these days. That's what it certainly seems to be like. But here's the other quip, though, about Sam Pittman and talking about the rival with Missouri and kind of where it lands or where it sticks right now currently among all the other rivalries, quote, that Arkansas has.
Well, I think Missouri is right up there at the top of rivals for us. I think if you ask our team, I think, obviously we have several trophy games and one of them just went out, but I would think Missouri would be one, Texas certainly would be one, LSU would be one, but I think Missouri ranks up there at the top.
So he says Missouri ranks up there at the top, which I don't really, people can feel their certain way about it. I really don't want that to be the case, and I don't feel like it is the case, and I get why Pittman is doing it this way, and why he's saying it this way is because he wants it to be a thing. It doesn't need to be a thing. Arkansas and Missouri, if it's a rivalry, that's fine. And if you want it to make it that's a rivalry, that's fine. If you want to say it's a rivalry, that's fine. But it just doesn't seem like it has the same stakes and has the same feeling of an Arkansas versus LSU or Arkansas versus A&M or an Arkansas versus Ole Miss or even Texas. Like, those mean a lot more. But if you don't start taking this seriously, this game seriously, and start looking at it as a rivalry, because obviously Missouri sees it as a rivalry. They love it. They think this is a great thing, which is fine. And it also showcases exactly how they feel. But if you're Arkansas, you need to be able to make sure you take games seriously. And if that means instilling a mentality of a rivalry with them, then so be it. But you don't need to go in. You don't need to lose this game. Missouri's beatable, and you are a team that when you're playing your best, you're going to be in the driver's seat for something. I don't know, maybe a 75 year. It seems like that's the case. Maybe be there in Nashville for the Music City Bowl. That'd be nice. Something like that. But right now, you need to find something. You need to find something to really hammer home and really be a part of and really make sure that that's the part of it. And if it's making them a rivalry, then so be it. But hey, we'll talk a little bit about basketball because Arkansas beat a team literally by 74 points last night. Or tonight when I'm recording. I just gave myself away. But we'll talk about that on the side of the break. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, I got to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet up to $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out all the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Then you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Arkansas absolutely destroyed a basketball opponent in a way and in a fashion I have not seen in quite some time. I hadn't seen a beating like that since somebody put a banana in my pants and turned a monkey loose. Because Arkansas beat the University of Maryland Eastern Shore 109-35. That's a 74-point win. Hogs by 90, like I always say, probably the closest I'm ever actually going to get right, or at least close to getting right. But what an absolute butt kicking here. You had multiple Razorbacks leading the way. Karter Knox actually led the way with scoring. He had 21 points in this game, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 block shot. So nice to see him going 8 of 14 from the field. Let's see, Boogie Fland and John L. Davis. Nelly Davis, seeing him get involved, he went 4 of 7 from 3. That's big time. I was so happy to see that. 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a block shot, and 2 steals in 26 minutes of play. Love that. Boogie Fland doing Boogie Fland things. 16 points for him. 5 rebounds, 6 assists, no turnovers, as well as a steal there. Adu Thiero, just a mild game of 11 points. 4 of 8 from the field, had 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and only 1 turnover and 4 steals. DJ Wagner had 13 points, 5 of 11 from the field, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals out of him. Big C had 14 points, 5 of 8 from the field, 3 of 6 from three-point land. And he also had 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 block shots in this one. So just domination, absolute domination. Arkansas shot 44% from three-point land, hit 15 threes, 15 of 34 from three-point land, 40 of 72 overall, 14 of 17 from the free throw line, had 49 rebounds, 4 turnovers with 23 assists. I feel like that's a good ratio, 23 to 4, pretty good. 5 block shots, 9 steals, and it was just an absolute butt kicking from beginning to end, not even close, just absolute destruction. And it's just nice to see this for a change. Now, Maryland Eastern Shore is awful. Like, they are a horrible basketball team, and it is what it is. But I don't even care about that. What I like in the fact that you actually got to see, for once, an Arkansas Razorback team put it together and win a game that's not close, win a game that's not making you feel uncomfortable, where they don't play well, offensively, defensively, beginning to end, beat the crap out of them. And as they should have. And it was great to see. It was great to see. The plus minuses in this is ridiculous. Edu Thiero had a plus 66. I hear that's pretty good. But still, that was just what they needed to do. And there hasn't really been a game like that this season. I mean, they only beat Little Rock by 12 points. They were never in danger of losing the game, but you just didn't see the outright destruction of a team, outright just beat down of a team that you've been wanting to see for a long time. And you finally got to see it in this one. So kudos to them. Really good to see. And they got to get ready because they got Illinois coming up. Trevin Brazil actually played a little bit in this game. Did play 12 minutes. He's starting to get back from injury, but only 2 points, went 1 of 2 from the field. Did have 2 rebounds and assist, so didn't really get too crazy involved there. But also forgot to mention Billy Richmond. How can I forget? I really like Billy Richmond. It's not saying that he's like the best player and he needs to play 40 minutes a game, but I just liked what he's been able to bring when he has come in. He had 14 points, 6 of 8 from the field, had 9 rebounds, led the way with rebounds, 1 assist, only 1 turnover. But did a really good job there and nearly had a double-double for him. So love seeing that. And, yeah, the other scoring you had, Kashmir Chavis. Yeah, I love to see that too. Somebody getting involved. Somebody going out there and getting a basket that, he's not going to change the world or anything. But it was like really the first time we got to see him in real action and getting it done. And that's what he did. Got 2 points and a rebound in this one. Melo Sanchez came in, didn't record any stats there, did get 2 minutes, and same thing with Kareem Watkins, although he did get a rebound, so got a little bit of there. But again, I liked what I saw. I mean, how do you not after just an absolute beatdown of that? Now you got to get ready for Illinois, legit test. I'm not feeling too confident about it, just because last time, we still have so many unknowns about Arkansas. Don't really know about Jonas Adu's status. Still waiting on him and what could be ending up happening there. But again, if you're a Razorback fan, for once, you beat down a team and it wasn't close that you're supposed to, and it feels good just for a change. To finally have that going for you, it feels really, really nice. So good job, Hogs. Almost Hogs by 90, but Hogs by 74. I'll take it. I'll take it. But appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.